Hi guys, welcome to another episode on Beyond the Strategy podcast. I really hope you enjoyed the last episode as much as I did. And on this episode, I have premium gist, like dramatic drama. 2021 was sort of a chaotic year for me. I mean, the latter part of 2021. There was the issue of my roof leaking, me having to find a new place in a span of 1 month, like so much drama. And then I had to go for a workshop in Nigeria. Now, 2021 was the year that I said I was unstoppable. Now, let me warn you, before you choose a theme for the year, my dear, brace yourself for impact, because I really went through things that I was not going to stop. I went through things that proved that I was unstoppable. I told myself that I wanted to build resilience. Little did I know that you have to go through something to become resilient. It's not just an adjective, you become it. You act it, and then you can be described as that. And I didn't even clock that was resilience being built until I posted a video, and almost everybody who commented on the video was like, "You're so resilient." I was like, "Oh, so this is it. I'll choose my adjectives well next time." But the long and short of the matter is that in 2021, I told myself that I was going to bulldoze my way through chaos, and the rent issue came, and this Nigerian issue came up. So I'm going to tell you about the Niger issue. So, if you've been listening to my story, you do know that I have a coach in Nigeria, Strategist, whose workshop I went to in 2020, where I got the light bulb moment. And I believe so much in following who know road, right? She's lived it, she's doing amazing things. And I wanted to learn more from her, and she was not coming back to Ghana, so I had to find my way to Nigeria. Another reason I wanted to go to Nigeria was to be able to see the numbers her clients were pulling. So her clients were pulling 9 figures in Naira, which is a lot of money. And I needed my brain to see some of these things. Some of these people would say that after I came for the workshop, I made so much money that I was able to build a factory for my business, which I was not getting that access to in Ghana. So I knew I needed to step out. I needed to see it to be able to see it for my clients as well. Secondly, I had never traveled out of Ghana, so this was my opportunity to travel out. I had just paid rent, so when she opened registrations for the workshop, I actually didn't have money. I paid at the very last minute. I kept begging her to hold a slot for me. I kept assuring her that I really want to come, so please hold a slot for me, and she did. Thank you so much, Trisha. I really appreciate you. Love you deeps. Mwah. Now I've paid for the workshop, and I had payments lined up, some payments lined up, and I knew that at a certain date I was going to get a certain amount. So I asked one of my friends to have her booking agent book a flight for me, because if you're going to book a ticket with either Africa World or Air Peace, they only hold it for you for about 2 days, and then they'll give it out if you don't make payment. So what I needed was the agent to pay for my ticket for me, and then I'll give him the money before I even fly out. 2 days to the trip. I was supposed to leave Ghana on Thursday. Tuesday morning, I find out that the guy didn't book the trip. How? In fact, Tuesday evening, I found out that the guy didn't book the trip. And I was so angry, I was so upset. Like, if you are not going to book it, why don't you just tell me that you cannot book it, and I'll find alternatives, even if I have to borrow money to do it. I mean, it was not hard for me to borrow money to invest in the business, but I've stopped. I've stopped that. So now I had to devise a plan. As we're devising the plan, 2 hours later, we checked back on the site and all flights to Nigeria on Thursday were fully booked. I didn't have the option of flying in on Friday because the workshop was not in Lagos. The workshop was in another state, Ogun State, which was about 2 hours drive from Lagos, Ikeja City Mall, to the place. And there was going to be a bus that would transport us. So it was too risky for me to go on Friday because I was going to miss the bus and I would have to find my way to Ogun State. And I've never been to Nigeria, so it was not an option for me. And it even got to a point, Thursday was fully booked, Friday was also fully booked. Here's the case that the payments you make for the workshop is not refundable. You are not going to get your money back, because then again, I paid at the very last minute. Seats are sold out, your rooms have been booked and everything, so it doesn't even make sense that the business refunds my money. So I texted Trisha and I was like, this was happening. I couldn't get a flight to Nigeria, so I would have to join in virtually. I was so sad, you know, my first international trip. I was so sad that I was going to miss this. And then she was like, you know what, give me a few hours, let me get back to you. And then she comes back and she says that there's an alternative, which is to go with Air Cote d'Ivoire. It's slightly more expensive. And then the other catch is that I'm going to transit in Abidjan for about 8 hours before I go to Lagos. Lagos, that it will take me 1 hour to go to with direct flight. I said, no wahala. I cannot lose that money and I really want to go out. I really wanted to fly out. And I called Air Cote d'Ivoire and I was like, I need the next available flight to Lagos. And the lady is like, okay, there's 10 a.m. I think, no, 8 a.m. or 9, whatever. I can't remember the details, but yes, she booked me in and then she sent me my ticket on WhatsApp. And I was so much in a rush. So here's the thing, that this was happening on Wednesday. So she sends the ticket. I go to get my COVID test, because that was when the travel restrictions were still tight. I went to do my COVID test and everything. I needed my flight itinerary to do my COVID test. I did all of that, and then I'm a very curious person. I like to ask questions. I like to picture things before I do them. So I would ask a ton of questions like, what's this, what's that, are you doing this, are you doing that? And I needed to see people's perspective of going to Nigeria. Anybody had told that I was going to Nigeria would be like, hey, are you sure it's safe? Like, I don't think you should go. Nigeria is scary. And you know, me, I had told myself that, dear, whether you like it or not, I'm going. I am going. So even for some of my friends, for one particular friend of mine, I don't like for people to project their fears on me. So I'll lie to you so that you don't project their fears. So she was like, so who is picking you up from the airport? I'm like, the workshop people have provided a driver to pick me up from the airport. I was lying. I'll pick taxi or Uber. Whatever it is, I'll find my way. If I'm supposed to die in Nigeria, I'll die. That's it. So that was very brave of me, which was actually very new to me, because the old me wouldn't have taken all these bold steps. So Air Cote d'Ivoire has been booked. So Wednesday night, I was watching YouTube videos on people, you know, going to Nigeria. And then if I find one guy's video who was talking about the COVID restrictions. And then he talked about a form you are supposed to fill before you enter the country. So when I went to find that form online, which is their Ministry of Health form, I found out that if you're not fully vaccinated, you're going to pay $200. And if you're fully vaccinated, you pay $50 to do a COVID test. But if you're not fully vaccinated, you pay $200 plus the COVID test. I was like, hey, me, even my pocket money is not enough. You want me to pay $200? Then my vaccine was due, I think, 4th of December. So I said, since I'm leaving on 3rd, I'm going to take that risk of going to where I got my first dose. My second dose was due on 4th. So I'm going to go there and ask them to give me the second dose. This girl is bold though. So I get to the place and they were not open. I got there as early as 7 a.m. They were not open. Check-in ends at 8:30. So they were not open. They open at 8 a.m. I'm like, okay. So I sat there. Thankfully, because I got there really early, I was the first person. I sat there and the workers started trooping in. And you know, government workers, sorry if you're a government worker, you are listening to this, but a lot of government workers are sort of sluggish, you know, they work at their own pace, they want to do things at their own convenience. So I kept saying I have a flight to catch, so they should please attend to me. Some of them were coming to pick vaccines to go and do external vaccinations. And then I heard one lady speaking Krobo, and I'm a Krobo, so I was like, okay. Then I went to her and I spoke my language. I pleaded with her and she's like, okay, let me do it for you. They gave me the vaccination and I didn't even realize that it was the wrong vaccine. My first dose was Moderna. This dose was Astra something. Yes, dear. I didn't know. They had given me the shot already. So if I was going to die, by now I'll be dead. So after they found out, they said, oh, it's not anything, Charlie. At that point, I didn't even care. I'm like, I cannot miss my flight. It was 8:15. Check-in ends at 8:30. So I request an Uber with my suitcase and everything. No, I request my tripod hanging on my sleeve. I request an Uber. The driver comes. This means that I have 15 minutes to get to the airport from Adjungano to Kotoka. And the Uber comes and I'm like, boss, I need to get to the airport in 15 minutes. Else, wahala. And he's like, I'm going to try my best, but if there's traffic, there's nothing I can do about it. So I said, okay. I know a route around the new roundabouts. That's where around Baobab, that's MX24, that area that leads to the motorway. So that's around the toll booth. I knew a route there. So I showed him that route and then he joined the motorway because I didn't want to risk using the tunnel. At that time, I was definitely going to get caught in that traffic. So we entered the motorway thinking that, oh, I'm sorted. Only for me to get to a few meters from the toll booth and the motorway was choked with traffic. It should tell you how far the toll booth is from Accra Mall, that interchange, Tatakwashi interchange, and there's so much traffic. I didn't know what to do. I was nervous. I honestly did not know what to do. And I was like, boss, I've told myself that I'll never pick Okada, but this is the day that I have to take a bike. This is the day that I have to take a bike on the motorway. Already, the motorway, as in a car, cry is scary, not to talk of a motorbike. So we tried stopping some riders, we're not stopping. One random guy, I think, who went to buy his porridge or something was riding past. He's the only person that heard me. I was like, I need to get to Terminal 3. And mind you, me, I didn't even know it was Terminal 3. I was supposed to go. I was going to go to Terminal 2. Like, I tell the guy, he puts my suitcase in front of him and I'm holding my tripod and then my carry-on, and he zooms off. I was like, I beg you, I'm in a hurry, but I'm also scared. So be fast, but also be careful. And, you know, he maneuvered his way. When we got to the mall, he crossed over and then entered the Trasacco Deco side, went to use the Action side, and then we entered Terminal through Polo and then entered the airport from that bypass. We got to Terminal 3. So we got to Terminal 3 at exactly 8:30. I ran inside. Thankfully, there was a queue at Air Cote d'Ivoire. So I get to Air Cote d'Ivoire. I check in. I joined the queue to check in. They check my passport, check my everything, my vaccination, my yellow fever, everything. And then I didn't even do yellow fever. I get to the check-in counter and the lady says, "What's your name?" I give her my name. "Can I have your passport?" I give her my, say they cannot find my name on the flying list. I'm like, "What do you mean?" "You cannot find you better find it, my dear." And she's like, "They can't find my name." So I should give her the ticket the lady sent to me. I give her my ticket and she says, "Your flight is on 3rd December 2022. I'm like, yay. What do you mean by 2022? When I called the lady, I said, next available flight to Lagos. How are you giving me a flight in 2022 when we are in 2021? Like, make it make sense. But because I was also in a rush, I didn't check all of those things. When she sent it, all I checked was the spelling of my name matching my passport. That's all. I didn't check the dates. So I had to go to their ticketing office inside Terminal 3, and I told them that this is the issue. And then they called the person who booked. She was not in that office. She was in their external office. They called her, and she says, the flight is full. The only seat left is on business class. So I have to top up 2,500. I said, for the way, I don't have it. I don't have that money. Secondly, it was not my mistake. I told you I wanted the next available flight. It is your job to make sure that you put me on the next. How do you book a 20? Like, who will come and buy 1 year in advance tickets? 8 hours of transit. How does it make sense when I could get a direct flight to Lagos? It doesn't make sense. But this lady kept insisting. And I was like, I can't pay that amount. And she says, okay, so this is what she's going to do. Because it's partially her fault, she's going to bear half of the cost. No, they said I should add up 3,200. So I'm going to bear, she's going to take half of the cost, so I also pay half. So I called one of my friends. "Charlie, do you have this amount of money? I need to this happening." The first person said no, like she had literally just paid some supplies. She didn't have that much in her mobile money. Then I called another friend and she sent me the amount. And they put me on the flight. So they had even closed the check-in counter, which meant that I couldn't check in my luggage, my deodorant, my facial wash. Everything was taken out at immigration because my facial wash and deodorants were more than, I think, 100 ml. So they had to take all those things out. I was like, wow. I literally had to run. Like, so the woman who took me from the boarding gate on a bus to the flight was like, "Oh, why did they waste your time so much? Because there's space on the flight, so it's not a difficult thing to do. They just had to change your details." Then immediately it dawned on me that all these things, like this whole thing was orchestrated. Like she intentionally gave me the wrong date, and because I didn't catch it, they were going to exploit me. They knew that I was going to be in a tight position and I would do anything to fly, and they could get money from me. So it dawned on me that, okay, these girls are trying to exploit me. I said, cool. Secondly, the account they made me send the money to was not the official account I sent the first payment to. So that was another red flag for me, that why are you making me send the money to somebody's personal Momo? I said, no wahala. So I sat on the flight. I get on the flight and it was not business class. I was sitting in economy. I said, cool, this confirms it for me. So immediately I texted her that I need a receipt for the payment I've made. She read my message, didn't respond. I said, you know what, at this point, my hand is in your mouth, because I could get to Abidjan and you do something and I'll get stuck in Abidjan. So when I land in Lagos, I'll do what I need to do. So the pressure. We get to Abidjan, I think by 10 a.m. We're in Abidjan, went through immigration. Whilst I was going through immigration at Abidjan airport, apparently I had put I was traveling with my favorite perfume, one of my favorite perfumes that I bought at a very hefty price. but I put it somewhere. So when I was going through immigration in Ghana, they didn't take that one out. Hey, it would have pained me if they had taken that perfume. So I get to Abidjan and immigration is like, they scan it and they think they see the liquid. And he's like, perfume? I say, I nodded. Then the guy who saw it is not the one who checked my bag. So the lady who checked my bag looked through everything. She didn't find it. It was in my makeup bag. So she didn't see it. And then she kept telling the guy that, ce n'est pas parfum. And she saw my sunscreen. So she thought it's the sunscreen that the guy saw and had flagged. It's a sunscreen, it's a lotion, so you can't take that one out. And I just said, so she asked me, perfume? I said, no. And then I just waltzed my way through immigration with my perfume secured. And then I went to sit in their lounge and waited. So when I sat down, I just needed water. I bought water. Thankfully I had some dollars on me, so I bought water. I drank the water, and then I just breathed. So I needed to pee, right? So I said, let me go to the washroom and pee. I get up and then I feel a certain rush. Now mind you, before I traveled, I think the day before I would travel, I got my period. So, and in my whole existence as a woman, since I started menstruation, I've never soiled myself. So this was really new to me. In an airport, in fact, in an international airport on a foreign land that speaks French, a language that's not my first language. Wow. Thankfully, I was in black jeans, so I quickly rushed to the washroom. Now, thinking back, I think there's a reason that all those things happened, because if I had checked in my bag, I wouldn't have had any clothes on me to be able to change into. That's the truth of the matter. I wouldn't have had any clothes to change into if this thing had happened. So I quickly just found new clothes, like picked new clothes, removed my jeans and washed, changed everything. As I was washing my jeans in the bathroom of an international airport, I was just laughing. At this point, I think I had seen it all. I had seen it. There was nothing else that was going to face me out. I had seen it all. I was just laughing. So I finished washing, and then I used the hand dryer to dry it up before, packing it up into my suitcase. And then I was having crazy cramps, so I needed to get painkillers, and then I found a pharmacy. The funny thing is, when I was looking for the pharmacy, I was looking around to see if I'll find a clothing store so that I could buy jeans or something, because the jeans that was stained was the only jeans I had on me. Everything else was, dress, shirts and stuff. Because I was packing light, I was just going for about 4 days. So there was no clothing store in the airport, so I would have really been in a fix. Just imagine having to wait 8 hours in that position. So I found a pharmacy, and I was trying to signal to them that I want something for abdominal pain. They couldn't understand. I just went and pointed at Panadol Extra, and I paid for it, and I went back to sit down. When I took the painkillers, I got food, and then immediately I felt good. Sent voice notes to my friends about what had happened. We laughed about it, and waited until about 6 p.m. I waited for 8 hours though, so that was 8 p.m. Abidjan time, and our flight to Lagos came, and then we got to Lagos. Got to Lagos around midnight. By the time I went through immigration and came out of immigration, it was around 1 a.m. At that time, you won't find Ubers there. Like, there was some form of curfew, so I had to pick a taxi. I was scared. I'm not gonna lie, I was scared. So once I saw, I got a taxi, I know the man was trying to hassle me. So I changed my dollars into Naira at the airport. And the man gave me some outrageous price. Says, cool, all I need to do is to get to my hotel. So they had booked a hotel for those of us flying into Lagos for the workshop prior to us setting off to Ogun State. And the man took me there. So apparently this hotel that was booked has about 13 or 15 branches in Lagos. So I was taken to the wrong one. Yeah. So I get there. I'm like, I have a booking under this name, and they're like, this is not the place because this is like you are the third person coming here, so it's somewhere else. So one of the guys had to run and go and call the driver. Now what helped with the driver was the moment he heard my accent, he's like, Ghanaian? I was like, yeah. He said, oh, he was born in Ghana, born at Kolibu. So we sort of hit it off well. It was like he was going to take me to the next place. He charged me on top of that extra because he knew that that was not the place. He mentioned that, am I sure is this one? There's a lot of it and blah, blah, blah. So I gave him extra money when he got me to the location. All I needed was to get to my room safely. So we got to that place. I found my room, met my roommates, and then I just took a shower, finally a hot bath. I also found out that I left my charger in Accra, my phone charger. So the next morning when we went to Ikeja City Mall to wait for the bus, I went to find Miniso in the mall and then got a cable. So my power bank cable now is from Nigeria. So sentimental to me. And then we got the cable, the bus came, and then off we went to Ogun State. It was absolutely worth it. Coming back, I did not book Air Cote d'Ivoire. I booked Africa World back because I wasn't about to go through that transit again. So I booked Africa World. Everything was smooth. Like we set off from the resort on Sunday before 12. So latest by 2 p.m. we're in Lagos. Our flight was taken off, I think, around 6 p.m. So we got to the airport, went through immigration. I changed all my Naira left back into dollars. And then back to Accra, I came. Now, someone would ask, was it worth all this trouble? Absolutely. Absolutely. Because I left that room really inspired. I left that room ready to push my clients to do more than I had seen, ready to help them push beyond what they were used to doing, ready to push them beyond their comfort zone. Because if all these businesses who started with little to no cash are raking in all these numbers, then we can do it too. It was absolutely worth it. My mind was blown. My mindset shifted, and I also entered another phase of growth for my business, because if you cannot visualize it, it most likely will not happen. And here was a room that had about 100 business owners that had signed up for a workshop. So I knew that I could also host a workshop like that and get people to sign up. If you don't see it, you most likely will not believe it. And that's how faith works. If I tell you, I have stories for days. I'm not lying, no. I have stories for days. And you're going to be hearing more of them on this podcast. So thank you for allowing me into your ears for these few minutes. I hope you picked lessons from this experience of mine. Somebody would have said, with all these hurdles, I would have said God didn't want me to go. But there was just something that was speaking to me that I knew it was not that I'm not meant to go. Because sometimes you face your biggest resistance when you're about to go through your biggest breakthrough. And for me, it was funny because in my family, nobody had traveled. Nobody has traveled. Like, people have made attempts to travel and they've not traveled. Like, in my family, I was the first person. So obviously, there was going to be some level of resistance. And once I broke it, once I went, I knew that I had entered a different realm. And that's also what inspired me to take my first international vacation. So this was my first trip, first international trip, first time sitting on an airplane. The girl who quit her job with zero savings, funded this by herself. No man, no sponsor, no bomber. Now I have bomber friends who are, supporting my craft. But at that point, I needed to do things for myself so that I know that I am capable of doing it. I know you are capable of doing it too. Stop waiting for things to happen to you. Take things and happen to things, right? Turn things around. Make things happen. You are more badass than you think you are. I believe you are more badass than you think you are. You first have to visualize it. So that thing that's scaring you, just do it. Just do it. Okay? Now this brings us to the end of the Premium Gist, Niger Premium Gist. Once again, this is the Beyond the Strategy podcast. Please do well to share with your friends, with your family. Share this with somebody to inspire them. Don't forget to give us good ratings if you love this episode. Give us 5 stars, give us a like, whatever it is. Share with your family. Slide into my DM at Patty the Strategist and tell me what's on your mind. I'm really hoping to hear what's on your mind. Let me know what you want to learn, what you want to hear from me about Beyond the Strategy, and I'll be happy to answer them on any of these episodes. Thank you so much, and I hope to be in your ears sometime soon. Again, peace and love. Bye.